What's up, nerds? How we doing? Welcome back. Happy Monday. You made it through the weekend without getting arrested. Congratulations. Hit the like button for me. Welcome to the Funker Show. I still don't know what it's called. I don't know. One day we'll know. We'll figure it out at some point. We got a special guest with us tonight. Say hi, Josh.
What's up, guys?
We got Joshy here. Josh is gonna, every so often, just kind of hang out with us on the stream, crack a few jokes, keep things light. You guys know Josh from his legendary write-ups. He's still blogging. This is technically his time that he posts stuff and tries to send me tons and tons of messages on the back end. Hey, I just posted this one. And I don't typically look at Discord, so I never catch him. But he's going to be joining us for a little bit. And there's also going to be some pretty cool things coming from Josh, myself, the Funker team in the future. I've mentioned him a couple times, just that I'd talk about him. But I continuously forget to talk about him because we've got so much footage to talk through. There's a lot of new stuff that's happened in Ukraine. We're going to actually see some footage from the cartels tonight. For all you Texan folk, I'm going to show you something that's happening in your backyard. But we're also going to talk about a lot of Russia. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was just saying, Texas is my backyard, dude.
It is your backyard. We're gonna be taking a look at a blog from there. But first, I gotta, of course, ask everybody to tap the like button for us, please and thank you. Drop in the chat. Let me know where you guys are chiming in from. I appreciate it very much. We all do. The unique thing about the Funker 530 community is that we're international. It's comprised on the back end of U.S. and allied nation veterans, but from a community perspective, words are tough, words matter. It's been a long weekend. That's amazing. And you guys continue to support us. We're actually going to see a community member who's currently in Ukraine, some footage of theirs, and they're providing commentary on that. We'll get to that when we get there, though. Let me know where you guys are chiming in from. Josh's back door. It's a heavenly place. Texas, specifically. Don't be weird. How we doing, guys? What's going on with the music tonight? We need a little bit more hype out of this. I've got like... How about some hyperdrive? Let's get some hyperdrive going. Here we go. All right, where do we got? We got Florida, London, Sarasota. I've got family in Sarasota. That's awesome. British Columbia, Canada, New Zealand, Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, by the way, think about all you folks in North Carolina right now, Southern Pines area, Fayetteville, etc., that are without power. Keeping an eye on that. Going back to it. You just made it weird. It's only weird if you make it weird. There's nothing I can do to make it weird. All right? Charleston. More from Charleston. Chicago, Oklahoma, Las Vegas, Sweden, Wisconsin. I don't know why I applied a Swedish accent to Wisconsin, but I did. You gotta have to live with that. Mr. Worldwide. Let's get started. Oh wait, I don't think it's possible to get started right before the beat drops on hyperdrive. That feels like, I feel like in some countries people are stoned for less. Yeah, that's tough. Such a banger of a song. I'm gonna play it every stream. You're gonna have to get over it. All right, well, let's get started for the night. We're gonna start off talking about Russia tonight. We don't have a sponsor for tonight's video or for tonight's episode, for tonight's stream, show, I don't know, live feed. Some people call it a podcast. It's technically not a podcast since there isn't an audio-only version of it. I've thought about doing an audio-only version of it, though, but it wouldn't really work with the current model where, you know, we kick it straight to nothing but raw video, but more to follow on that. So what I will say is, if you guys would like to pick up some Funker merch, ! Merch in the chat, you guys can use code JAMSHEED10 for 10% off. But let's talk a little bit about Russia. Now, as the title and thumbnail indicate, Ukraine once again has struck into Russia, except it was twice. And it was also, at least in one of those instances, 700 kilometers from the nearest location in Ukraine. the nearest feasible location from which to launch something. There's a lot of discussion about what exactly that was, and we've got footage of the strikes. We've got satellite images of at least one of those two locations, and we'll talk more about that after we watch the first bit of footage here. Now, what I did want to do is show you guys the two locations first. So we're going to go to the first here. Okay, that didn't work. Let's go to Google Earth. Coming up for you full screen. F11. There it is. All right, the first, it's going to be Engels 2. Now, this is far from where Ukraine would theoretically be able to reach. So I'm going to run a general ruler here. Drop it right there to about here. Here-ish. So down in Donetsk, all of this ground is still Russian occupied. But around about here, theoretically, roundabouts, is where you might be able to launch something. Take a look at that distance, 619 kilometers. This is very unexact. This is just one of two locations. Let's check out the other one. And actually, we'll zoom in and we'll take a look at what specifically was the target. The target was here. Something you'll note is the amount of strategic bombers that are on the flight line here. Hopefully there were no privates out there trying to grab a roll of flight line or some rotor wash. Now let's check out Ryazan. Take a look at where that is. That was the first location. Second location. Coming up here. And where is that airstrip? I had it earlier. I promise it's here. There it is, right there. Right there.
You can do it, buddy.
Shut up, Josh. Now let's run a line from that too. Dog barking. Sounds like mom's home. Come all the way out. Where are we at? Can't see anything. Where am I at right? Oh, here we go. So this one, I don't know, maybe from its closest tip. 470 kilometers. What in the hell would have done that? Let's take a look at some footage. Okay, I'm impressed. Yeah, it's really far. That was really far. So we have footage, at least, of one of those two different air bases. Josh, I want to say this one was from the first Engels. Would that be accurate? I think so.
Yeah, I believe so. Will's the one that put all this out. He was doing a bunch of research on it this morning and getting all concerned that I might blog it before him.
I know. So here's you know, as Ukrainians would say, the arrival, or Russians would say, the arrival. The explosions there at Engels Air Base. Kind of close to Moscow. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? ATACMS or super suicide drone? We're going to talk about a couple options. We're going to talk about what Russia claims, and then we're going to talk about what everybody else thinks it might be right now. Both of those air bases were hit over the last 24 hours or so. I hear a blackguardy. Yeah. Where's the emphasis on that syllable, Josh? Blackguardy? Blagardy?
Bro, I don't know. This is just like a gamer tag from like middle school that's stuck with me my whole life.
Oof. Take a look at this. Check out this image that I'm going to bring up here. This is from the Ryazan airbase. This is aftermath photo of one of those high-level bombers. And each of these air bases are used to launch missiles at Ukraine and, of course, potential bombing runs. Now, over the period of about 12 to, I don't know, almost 24 hours, a lot of the chatter on social media was talking about the mobilization of these bombers at each of these air bases. Now, some of the chatter was about a new drone capability from Ukraine. We currently don't have any post-blast satellite imagery. There is some post-blast satellite imagery, but it doesn't show the entire airbase from Engels 2 just yet. But there was a lot of discussion about a new Ukrainian drone capability that supposedly had a 1,000-kilometer range. Now, a 1,000-kilometer range from Kyiv would look like this. Pretty much unfettered access to wherever the hell they wanted to use it. If it turned out that it was a capability that they were actually testing. Here is a supposed image of this new drone that has a 1,000-kilometer capability. It's from, I'm going to paste this in the chat because I'm going to absolutely butcher it. Check this out. That's the company that it's from, Ukroboronprom. I think I nailed that.
You just got to put your scav voice on, dude.
Cheeky breaky. Opachki. Now, that is, what's swirling around the internet right now as a believed potential source. Given the distance, no current capability that has been used, often, would theoretically be able to reach that far. ATACMS, what I've seen ATACMS in the chat a few times. There's nothing to indicate that Ukraine has ATACMS, and in fact, I just got done scripting out 3 new videos that are going to come out that lend a little bit of credibility to the belief that they don't have ATACMS. I tweeted about that earlier today, so if you'd like to check that out, go look at it. But Russian propagandist Alexander Kotz has a different theory. This was reported by Rob Lee on Twitter. Alexander believes that it was the Tu-141, the Tupolev 141. What is the Tupolev 141? Well, it's a 1970s drone that is essentially designed for reconnaissance. So under normal circumstances, it wouldn't have the capability to cause the level of damage that it's believed these attacks did. At least 2 bombers are known to have been at least damaged. But where this starts to get really interesting, I'm going to give you guys a link. One of these Tupolev 141s fell in Croatia back in March. So back in March, Hungary launched a Tupolev 141, and about 7 minutes later, it crashed in Croatia, reportedly with a bomb on board. Now, the 141 itself you can absolutely tell it's, like 1970s technology. Check this out. Tu-141. I thought I had a picture saved down of this, but I didn't. Here, I'll just give you full screen and show you the Google search. That looks like something out of the 70s. It is Soviet technology, but it's old and it's antiquated. And one of the things that Rob Lee posits is that if somehow that system made it that far inside of Russia without being shot down, Russia's got bigger problems on their hands, and I'd probably have to agree. Farley, what's going on? What's up, Ronnie? Evening chat. A little late, but at least I've caught the stream. Welcome in. We're here with a guest tonight. We've got Josh on the line with us. He's hanging out while he's doing his blog and making fun of me every chance he gets, which is really awesome. It's really great, giving you a peer into the behind the scenes at Funker. Northwest Shooting Solutions, thanks for the $2.
I'm doing a TPS report right now.
Did you get the memo?
I was supposed to do it on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. Did not fly from Hungary. What? Like, that's what the report says. I'm not talking about this specific instance. Was it not Hungary? Yeah, it was. Click the link to the article I just... You and I are talking about different things, boss. Right? We're talking about different things. At least that's what the article says. So, what has Russia's response been to that? Well, quite a massive missile barrage. Words tough. Words matter. Was launched against Ukraine, and we have actually some of the first footage I've seen of the FLakpanzer Gepard. I know I'm mispronouncing that. Listen. Sorry, not sorry. But some of the first footage I've seen of the FLakpanzer being used. Now, the FLakpanzer has like a really long name. And it stands ultimately for, what is it? Anti-aircraft tank, gun tank Cheetah.
Seems legit.
I mean, it's a really, really long name, dude. Let's watch that again. So what the Gepard's engaging here is a cruise missile of some kind. Now it's got two 35mm autocannons, and the combined rate of fire of this thing is 1,100 rounds a minute. Let's take a look at a photo of this. It's pretty amazing. Check this thing out. That's the kind of thing you worry about when it comes over to the house to meet your mom. That's a good-looking vehicle there. AK guy claiming the kill. Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on with that. Towards the very end of that video there. You got one of those, wedding launches into the sky. Kind of at a random here. He got it. He got it. All right, let's bring it back up. But there were also missile strikes into Kyiv. That link's not working for some reason. We'll move on. We'll end up coming back to that one. What I really wanted to focus on and cover there, though, was the simple fact that Ukraine mounted another attack into Russia into two separate locations, minimum 400, maximum 700 plus kilometers from capable range, from known capable range. AK guy unlocks God mode. Gunslinger, thanks for the 762. That's funny. Happy Festivus and Bueno Mithras. Northwest Shooting Solutions, thanks again for the $2. Demo Theens, thanks very much for becoming a member. AZ Blazin, thanks for becoming a member. Toby, thanks for the 40 months. That's a long time.
It's longer than my marriage.
I was gonna make a marriage joke, but I held it back. You know, just out of general respect for marriages. If you're wondering, it's Josh. Josh is in our ears tonight. Checking in on the chat here. Nice shot. Oof. Hey, Django, how are you? All right, let's move on to our very next video, and this is actually really the one that I was super excited about. This is one of Josh's blog posts, but the more pertinent and the topic I want to talk about is that the original poster of this is a Funker 530 community member. Check this out. So the video we're about to watch is the International Legion making contact with Russian forces. And the poster of this is Shogun Sean. Shogun Sean happens to be down in the comments providing a whole lot of extra information on the video, some additional context. I'm going to give you guys a link to this one if you want to go over there and check out the context. And this is one of those videos that you kind of got to just crank up the quality on. So we're going to go full screen here. We're going to crank this bad boy up to 1080p. And we're off.
Good. We're over there! 11 o'clock!
So, Josh, there's a lot of folks asking what kind of weapon system. To me, that looks like an AR platform.
Yeah, it's hard to tell just from this video because the camera ends up being so far forward.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the quad rail there.
It does look like what the other guys are going to. Go back to the last frame.
Let's bring that here.
You can see it when the other guy's walking past him.
Try and get a pause there. And we'll go quarter speed. What is that? Not certain. Yeah, it looks like M16, M4 style, yeah. What optic was he running? Looks like a CCO. But the big context to this one, the big thing to talk about here is this is somebody in Ukraine right now that happens to also be in the comment section over on the Funker 530 app and website. So if you guys, again, want some additional context from this, go check out down in the comments, Shogun Shorn. And his additional context, what I can summarize for you is that they make contact with a platoon-sized element and at least one T-90. Go check it out. I'll give you guys the link again. If you end up missing the link in the live chat, check out the stream description. Is that Bjorn?
Yeah, that's Bjorn, the world's most.
We're gonna need photos of Bjorn. They've seen Zeus and Luna like over and over again. Now they're not gonna stop talking about Bjorn. So just be prepared for that, and we'll move on for now, though. I'm checking in on the chat and some of the support that's coming across. Thank you guys for it. Northwest Shooting Solutions, thanks for the $10. Can you get me in touch with Sean? I was in the Legion. Would love to talk with him. Still have brothers fighting. Lost my best friend there 2 months ago. Well, I'm sorry to hear about that. I don't know exactly how we'd connect you with the Legion. But, you know, just posting something like that, there might be somebody in the chat that can reach out and help you out. We don't necessarily have any direct contact. A good way... Go ahead.
His Instagram @handle is in the description of that video. You can copy and paste that with an @ in front of it. It'll take you to him on Instagram.
There you go. There you go. I'd reach out to Sean direct on Instagram. That'd make it easy. Give Bjorn pics, Josh. Yep. See, told you, man. And now
there's some on my Twitter.
And now we're off the rails. Yeah, we've derailed the train, and I don't know how we're gonna get it back. I've got an idea. Speaking of animals, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there is a certain Ukrainian prisoner that continues to put up a fight, and I continue to be an advocate for returning this prisoner at all costs. Right away.
Аккуратнее, аккуратнее. Прокусил. Ну ничего. Значит, служит, молодец. Волновался много народу. Ну да, наверное, он запсиховался.
Петиция на сайте Зеленского публикует. Они говорят, что хотят обменять енот на памятник, там еще на что-то. Готовы отдать?
Боится. Аккуратнее, аккуратнее. Прокусил. Ну ничего.
So if you're not familiar with this story, as you know, we've talked about it a couple times. During Russia's retreat from Kherson, one of the stories that broke was that they stole a baby raccoon from the Kherson zoo. And this is reportedly that raccoon that isn't taking kindly to being petted. That's because it's a fucking raccoon. And it's not going to take kindly to being petted. And I cried laughing the first time I watched this. The noise.
Аккуратнее, аккуратнее. Прокусил. Ну ничего. Значит, служит, молодец. Волновался много народу. Ну да, наверное.
Oh, man. The note that I had written down for this one was, Ukrainian prisoner doesn't take too well to captivity, continues efforts to resist. That's the title that I put for this one. Why do they have raccoons at the zoo? I don't know, man. I don't know. They're the ones that reported that they stole the raccoon. That was reported via Russian sources. Like, hey, we stole a raccoon from the zoo. And now, when the story first broke, I happened to receive some, back channel information, which I can't validate, but I can only hope it's true, that Ukraine offered 10 prisoners of war, Russian POWs, for the return of this raccoon, which ultimately means that the valuation of the raccoon is 10 Russian human beings. Oof. All right, let's bring it back up. Go Army, beat Navy. Hell yeah, Dominic. Sorry. Dominic, thanks for the 10. Much love for the work you do. We appreciate that very much. Go Army, beat Navy. Thanks. Josh.
Here's my timeout button.
Josh is Marine. He's not real happy about that. That's a good deal, to be honest. The next one I've got is, well, we're gonna watch it first, and then I've got a couple key things to note about it. But there's a whole lot going on in this video, and I don't want to deprive you of that before I spin my propagandist narrative over top of it. Here you go. There's no audio to this one.
I should have painted that thing sky blue and gray.
Bro, all I could think about watching this is ruh-roh, Raggy.
Zoinks!
That's all I could think about. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what ended up happening to this. I think the artillery ends up hitting this logistics truck here, and then you got the Scooby-Doo van. I'm not sure what's going on with the Scooby-Doo van, or why they painted it white. And then suddenly the Scooby-Doo van explodes. Like, the drone turns away for a second. I'm not sure what's going on at this point, but the Scooby-Doo van explodes. And then things go even worse. The van just, the truck just starts noping the hell out of there.
Man, you ever see the video of the Marines ghost riding the MRAP on Camp Fallujah?
No.
That's what this reminds me of, except this one's on fire.
It's just minor detail that this one's on fire. I just want to know what happened to the Scooby-Doo van. Like, what caused that to explode? While I was reviewing this one earlier, I watched this about 10 times trying to figure it out.
Oh, look at that. Mosin just had his funker baby.
Oh, Mosin, thanks for the 9 months. That's a whole baby. Yeah, so we can see Artie fallen. And then, I don't know, maybe cook-off or something, but what's in this tank to make it do what it did? Or, I mean, what's it... Not tank. In the mystery machine here. That's been painted white. Oof. Like, that's not a small explosion. What were they loading in there? It's gone. It's gone. Like quite honestly, I was watching this and I was like, what was that? I don't know. Drop your ideas in the chat. Probably have a rag for a guy. Yeah, the Logi got smoked too. Meth? Ronnie, how's your shorts tonight, man? Just as long as you'd hope they are. Which is not very much. Take back the streets. Thanks for hitting the member button. Welcome. Ammo? I mean, even if it is ammo, I'm thinking maybe mines. You know, we've seen them racking and stacking anti-tank mines in the back. You know, while the Logi's cooking off there. Just sends the mystery machine up. Josh, you killed me when you said zoinks, dude. Ruh-roh. Scooby treats overheated? All right, let's move on. All right. This one was actually blogged by Josh. Somebody asked in the chat, they were like, I'm not sure what Josh's role is. None of us are really sure what our role is. We just work here.
We just do stuff, man.
Yeah, like what would you say you do here? Well, I'm a people person. I work with the engineers. I don't know. None of us know what we do. But this is one of Josh's blogs. And really the only way to explain this is that this Ukrainian drone was tired of Russia's bullshit and absolutely ignores the anti-air system that's firing at it. Just kind of continues on with whatever it wants to do.
This one was mind-blowing when I watched it, because you see that and you're like, there's no way. It's going down. It's like, nah, I'm good.
That thing should have plummeted right to the earth.
Even the drone operator's like, fuck. Watch him scan with the camera. It's like, what the hell? I suppose I don't have a beep, huh?
No, you don't have a beep. It's fine. I only beep because Funker gets mad when I say bad words. So you've known him longer. You get to do whatever you want. I'm still on that new guy thing. All right, coming back up. Scooby V-bid? Oof. Is that flak? I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We don't exactly know what hit it. All we know is that it wasn't gonna rain on that UAV's parade. Good shot, yeah. Well, sort of. Because it's still flying. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one we actually had to run by our resident good friend in bomb tech. Because it's kind of bonkers. Check this out. What you're going to see here is an F1 grenade wire tied to the back of a claymore with a tripwire attached to the grenade. As from an initiation perspective. Check this out.
Красота. Опа. Все у нас и растянуто. Перекрыта дорога. Все занимается.
So theoretically, if you know, I'm sure you can understand at this point, what ends up happening is somebody trips a tripwire, pulls the pin, pops the spoon, sort of spoon, which sets off the F1 grenade, which then, you know, sets off the claymore. But we did run it by Tim. You know, Tim's bomb tech. Still actively doing it. And his description for it is right down here at the bottom. Tension pull tripwire on an F1 style grenade. Tension pulls the pin, spoon flips, strike is free to make the thing bang. He's also noting the weird color for the grenade. Interesting to see if that grenade had enough ass to kick off the Mon 50 at the front. So again, sometimes we try to provide context. Weird.
Mon 50 being the Soviet knockoff of a Claymore.
Yeah. Mon 50 anti-personnel mine.
And we can't give the Russians any flack for using the Soviet-era Claymore mines because our Claymore mines were made in that same time frame.
Yep.
It works.
John Wayne, thanks for the 20. Hey, Ronnie, been watching you since day 4 of the invasion. I'm now on my weight loss journey to lose 50 pounds to join the army. 15 down in 2 weeks. Hell yeah. Anyways, keep up the fantastic work and much love to the Funker 530 team. John Wayne, thanks for the 20 and keep getting it, bro. That's awesome. I had to go through a similar situation. I joined the army, got skinny, then got fat again when we had some kids. And then for my second deployment, they basically told me that I wasn't able to actually attach to the unit that I was getting sent with until I lost weight. And I kicked my own ass for a long time and luckily have kept all of that off. So lifestyle change, man. That's awesome. So it does or not, probably. I mean, you know, I would assume that F1 would have enough ass to, you know, clack off that Claymore. Imagine wanting to join the military under this administration. What do you do? Let's move on. I've got some more footage of Ukrainian EOD. I would only assume that the last footage of was EOD, you know, dicking with that monstrosity. But if it wasn't, here is your EOD fix of the week, or at least of the day.
Зашибись. Как сказал бы Саныч, люблю запах напалма по утрам.
I'm just going to tie these two wires together. I don't think he was expecting that, man. I don't think he was entirely expecting that to go off at that time, if I'm being honest. We're in our unknown area of Ukraine footage right now. Oof. All right, let's come back up. Blue Ridge 28, thanks very much for the $2. Great content as always. Thanks very much for being here, and thank you for the 2. Viking, thanks for the 48.71. Holy shit, how did I miss that? Thanks, man. That's so many dollars. Appreciate you very much. It worked, though. It did. Yeah, the stuff that they didn't want there anymore is no longer there. And they are still here. So I feel like that's the best case scenario outcome, right? All right, let's bring it back up. Is that Timo? We've got some footage coming out of Kyiv. This is actually a little bit dated, but there is an interesting talking point with this. Oops. Nope. Control Z, I accidentally pasted. So this is actually from November 24th, I believe. November 23rd, excuse me. It's a double Russian cruise missile strike on Kyiv. Now, the real talking point with this is that there was a crater analysis done by the Conflict Armament Research Team. And the outcome of that analysis was essentially that there are quite a few critical Western components that were a part of this KH-101, which is a nuclear-capable missile, by the way. It was using conventional warhead when it was used here. But there were a lot of critical Western components that were included in the KH-101, which ultimately leads to 2 theories. Either Russia was stockpiling Western components ahead of sanctions, or they are essentially finding their way around sanctions to continue production and development, because they also found that this specific missile had been built in the latter half of this year. Here's the footage for it. What are your thoughts on that, Josh? Think they're finding a way around sanctions to keep getting Western gear?
Probably. And
Yeah.
You can't stop the black market. That's why it's called what it is.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring it back up. What do you guys think? Let's check in with you. Turn the music on. We'll hang out. We'll talk in the chat for a little bit. Turn different music on. There we go. Probably the former. Okay. You think they're stockpiling that stuff ahead of time. Okay. I mean, it's justifiable to, really see either, or if not both, right? They can reroute through other nations too. Yeah. That's kind of what I mean by circumvent the Western sanctions. Parts fell off the back of a truck. Funneling parts through North Korea. Theoretically, that wouldn't have worked either. I'm not saying the funneling through other countries isn't possible, but North Korea is probably not the funnel. Ronnie got pregnant also? Yeah, you'd think so. I have stretch marks from that. All right, let's move on. We're moving into here's some footage. Of course, the biggest talking point that we have about Kherson are Ukrainians crossing the Dnipro to plant the Ukrainian flag. It was a small incursion, if I'm not mistaken. Any kind of real permanent foothold has yet to really truly be established. So it's mostly significance or morale at this point. This is on the Russian side of the Dnipro. Dragons, thanks for the 7 months. Almost born, 2 more months. You're in the This is when things start getting interesting. Yes, the Dinner Pro. That's what I said. Uh-huh. And for the record, what I was saying was Dinner Pro. I was just pronouncing the D.
Too easy. I'm not biting.
You're not biting the D?
Oh, you got me. Shoot.
Woof. All right, let's come back up. That one was on Twitter. Dinner Pro. You know, at some point you guys are going to forget all about that, right? And we'll just move on almost like it never happened. And oh, and the Danube River? Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one here. The next one's actually really interesting. So, Ka-52s. There have been quite a few Ka-52s shot down, but another one was shot down in Kherson. And we've got two angles to look at here. The first one is going to be, actually we're not going to look at the up close one just yet. We'll watch the original angle. And I want you to see if you can find a chute. For those that don't know, the Ka-52 is one of very few choppers in the world that has an ejection capability. The internet doesn't forget. Yeah, but you guys could just be nice and forget. Make sure you don't forget your Dinner Pro, Eye Pro, and Ear Pro. Oh, man. All right, let's check out that second perspective. This is the one that we're going to focus on here. I'm up full screen. Just because I know that triggers at least one person. What's interesting is the angle of attack here, too. Of whatever system it was that destroyed this. Chopper on the left. If this were... if the pilots had safely ejected from this, what we would see is the rotors, 6 rotors total. It's got those 2 sets of rotors at the top. Come off. That's, you know, part of the ejection process. The canopy would pop, and the pilots would come out. Now, the Ka-50 prior to the 52 also had a seat eject capability, or a pilot eject capability. But it does not look like they were able to actuate, or the ejection didn't work for whatever reason. Now, you've got another chopper. Some people were asking, what's that thing moving at the bottom? That's another chopper down there. Ejection capability is probably compromised. Joe, yeah, you're absolutely right. Either that or the pilots were compromised and weren't able to use the ejection capability. Because that's a big fireball. Are you sure they lived through the attack? I didn't say that. Nope. Gotta have arms to pull the ejection handles. All right, with that, we're moving on. You're not wrong. We've got some Russian perspective footage of the Lancet coming up for you. And what you're going to see here...
That's on the webpage, Ronnie.
What's on the webpage? The one that I just pulled up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never mind. We're good.
You got the Lancet, Josh, targeting the S-300 as well as some of the S-300 components. Lancet being Russian, targeting Ukrainian components. So Russian perspective footage here. You'll see at the very beginning, it's targeting basically, I want to say the C2 infrastructure, maybe the radar system for it. I'm not overly familiar with all of the integrated systems of the S-300. Was a rewarded and experienced K-52 crew taken out there. Yeah, that is actually something I had in my notes that I didn't mention. So the reports were that it was a very capable and experienced crew inside that alligator, the chopper that we just showed getting shot down. So again, they're taking out some of the critical components that are a part of the S-300's communication system, their control command and control system for it, and then targeting the S-300 itself. Now, to me, this hit looks low near the tires, and I feel like there would have been some kind of a sympathetic detonation afterwards. That one missed.
To me, it actually looks like the drone stalls out.
Right there on this one, yeah. But this is the one I'm saying hits a little bit low. That looks like it's hitting tires. But this one absolutely looks like it's stalled out. Ran out of vodka or something. All right, coming back up. And that was also in Kherson. We're still in Kherson, guys. This was an interesting one to watch. More International Legion footage. I put this in the Kherson section simply because it looks a whole lot like some footage that we talked about last Friday, where we watched a believed staged video at the Antonovsky Bridge. More specifically, the buildings that they look like they're standing in and around remind of the buildings, the stairs or ramps that flank each side of the north area of Antonovsky. You guys can ultimately be the ones to determine, though. I'm going to pull this up for you now. These are Ukrainians, at least International Legion.
Just watch the road on the right side of the screen.
Okay, shoot, cover!
Because while all this gunfighting is going on, there are literally civilians just trying to drive to work.
Down! Go! Inside!
You think they spilled their cup of coffee?
Just imagine trying to text that to your boss. Like,
Okay,
hey, sorry, I'm late.
I'm gonna be late. There was a gunfight, fully automatic gunfight happening. I stopped to take a few pictures. Won't happen again, I promise. Happens again the next morning. No, I've talked about that before. There's these two worlds colliding right now. I don't remember whose show that I was watching. I was trying to catch up on. I think it was Sean Ryan's show. And you know, the gentleman that was on there had, you know, spent time in Lviv, Kyiv, all the way up close to the forward line. And, you know, as you get into Kyiv and Lviv, there's this collision of people that are training to go to the front, you know, in central parks. You know, and at the same time, folks pushing baby carriages, you know, going to work, trying to live some semblance of a normal life.
I think at the beginning of the conflict, the world got their first peek into what happens when your normalcy bias finally gets its switch flipped to "I was wrong."
Oh, sure. I mean, this is, what was it? Vietnam was labeled the most televised war in history. What would this be? The most streamed war in history? We watched a nuclear fight happen at a firefight happen at a, you know, nuclear power plant. We've seen, you know, Instagram live. Wasn't it the Chechens that were live on Instagram or something? And then artillery dropped right behind them. Talk about a way to end a stream. You know,
well, I mean, shoot, we saw one of our friends have a cruise missile fly.
Yeah, Willie, it's just recording a video, and there goes a cruise missile flying right over your head. It's surreal.
I don't think Ukraine has quite caught up to or surpassed Syria in the sense of being the most recorded conflict in the world, but it's definitely the most watched because the war in Syria was far more heavily recorded and still is and will be for a long time because it's almost a decade's worth of guys running around with GoPros shooting at each other. But Syria never had the mainstream attention.
Yeah, but I would even still say that even if the Syrian civil war was the most recorded, from a current events perspective, and this ties into the media attention of it, more people are in tune with what's happening by hour than ever were involved in the Syrian civil war Syrian civil war. And you're right. That's largely because of the amount of mainstream coverage of it. I mean, it's also got quite a bit to do with the aggressor, in my opinion. There are a lot of people that grew up with Russia being the big bad bear, and there's a lot of curiosity that came along with that. Like, okay, well, what's Russia's actual capability here? Which ultimately, we kind of found out is quite a bit lesser than we were all led to believe.
Right, and well, Russia was involved with Syria as well. There's quite a few infamous moments from that war directly involving Russian troops.
Was it is Kamdesh the one I'm thinking of where Wagner got their belly full of American air power?
Yeah, that's one. There's also, the Wagner torture videos that came out. We broke that story when that first popped off. There's a bunch of that stuff, but I think one of the primary differences, you look at Ukraine, man, you see wooden plaster homes with brick and mortar, and then you look at Syria, it's sandstone and dirt.
So, yeah, there's a disconnect, a mental disconnect that you have there. This is a culture that I don't connect with directly, right? That was talked about quite a bit. It was kind of disgusting to see. It's this isn't just the Middle East. These are Europeans, and it's like, well, bro, why is that the thing that why is that your differentiation right now? Right.
Yeah, I think the thing is Ukraine looks like home, Syria doesn't. So that's why Ukraine hits different for people. And also on top of that, it's oh no, the big bear finally woke up and it's going to do something. And well, we found out the bear's 90 years old, has no teeth, and its feet are broken. So.
That's such an accurate description too. Antiquated systems, 90 years old. It's got no teeth. We always feared the bite of the bear. It bit down and it stings a little bit, but it just doesn't do a whole lot of damage once you look at it in more depth. Its feet are broken because it can't move anywhere. It can't provide its own logistics, movement, maneuver. That's one of the best analogies for Russia that I have heard so far, is just an old 90-year-old bear with no teeth and its feet are broken. Congratulations.
You're welcome. I'll be here for another 10 years.
All right, let's move on to our next one. No, we can't move out of Kherson just yet. Speaking of the Russian bear, who knew that the toothless, broken foot Russian bear also stole shit from people's houses?
Now, I love this because one of the top comments was a guy saying, like, the Americans act like they didn't do this in Afghanistan and Iraq.
I didn't steal a single thing from anybody in Afghanistan.
It's like, first of all, there was nothing in Afghanistan and Iraq that any of us wanted to steal. Second of all, we had this thing called U.S. Customs when you left the country, where every single one of your items was inspected, including like down to the pockets of your extra uniforms. And they send you to jail for this kind of thing.
I want to play the audio. The problem is the music.
Yeah, the audio, I think they're using something from like 28 Days Later or Call of Duty Zombies or something.
I don't know.
But the guys are having like just a jovial, casual conversation.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Just not to be hypocritical here, but what comes to mind on this is the video that came out of I forget what police department it was, but there were a bunch of cops walking around somebody's house, stuffing their pockets full of shit, man.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yep.
They recorded it all on their body worn.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess that's why we have them.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, that's why we have the body worn cameras. You know, but that's what came to mind when I watched this video. Right, it's the same vibe that came out of it. Checking in on the chat here. Dude stole a guitar. Looks more like urban explorers and not soldiers. I mean, that's kind of the running theme of Russian soldiers thus far. Seen any of the videos we've posted about mobilization troops, their level of equipment, capability? Mosen, thanks for the $20. So you're telling me you didn't steal any washers and dryers while you were in Afghanistan? Actually, I did. Yep. You know what it was? I stole a clothesline because that's what they're using for their dryers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I stole a Mark 19 ammo can because that was the washing machine. Fill it with rocks and water and soap. You put all your clothes in it, and then you take that big butt Mark 19 can, and you just shake it vigorously with all the rocks in there.
You know, going back to them just not having anything to steal, you know, it's a point. It's a point to be made, and it's not to. We had a really bad hailstorm one time in Kabul. This is the capital of the country, Kabul. Really bad hailstorm. For us, you know, at Camp Eggers, once we got off a mission, and it started hailing, you know, we just recorded the hailstorm. Turns out 12 people died because they didn't have like homes and stuff, like brick and mortar. You know, they're in like shacks in the capital city of Kabul. There are huge buildings that it looks like a bunch of money was invested to start construction on rebuilding. I was there when they stood up the first stoplight. It was on for like a day and a half, and everybody ignored it, and then it got shut off. Right? To say essentially, don't act like you guys didn't steal anything from Afghanistan. Josh is right. What would we have taken? Like, you can't take any of the guns anymore. There's no more trophies of war. You know, that shit got shut down real early. It was happening. It was absolutely happening in early Iraq, early Afghanistan. The stuff was moving in and out of theater. But that got turned off real quick. A little hashish for personal use. That one I can't speak to. Let's move on. We're going to move into footage from the east. So Bakhmut, Soledar, Kharkiv, Oblast, getting into Donetsk. The very first one that we've got here is, and this is one of yours, Josh, a Ukrainian recon team making contact. And Josh, explain why, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, as a recon team, you go in, you pull the Wolverine shit, blow up a bunch of stuff and pull out. That's really not typically what a recon team does, is it?
No, so I mean, that is a mission set that recon does. A reconnaissance unit should be able to conduct a raid fairly easily. So that's a smaller force going in, punching a larger force in the face and getting out. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is these guys are reconning for intelligence. And right here, they're getting compromised. At the 10-second mark, you can see the Russians open fire on them. One of the Ukrainians goes down. And what they do is they just drop all of their ammunition in the direction of the fire where it's coming from, and they just break contact because they're not in friendly territory. They're in the Russians' backyard, even though it's still their country. They're in Russian territory. There's no support coming for them immediately. They can't just call a Black Hawk.
Once again, though, there is copyright music on the backside, so even the firefight itself, that might be enough to drown it out and let us roll it. So, Josh, what you're talking about, you know, when you're actually looking for contact, would that be recon by fire, right?
No, if a recon unit's going out looking to get into a fight, they're generally going to be doing a raid. So that's the Wolverine type stuff that you're talking about earlier. Like, here's a known installation. We're going to go, we're going to set these charges, blow it up. We're going to hit this outpost, and then we're going to get the hell out of Dodge after we punch them in the mouth. That's a raid. That's what like a recon unit is going to do. If you're going out on a security patrol and you make contact, that happens. You're usually close enough to your support to where you're going to be able to get it. A recon unit is going to be farther afield on their own. They don't want to be in contact unless that's the purpose of their operation, you know?
You know, I'm just kind of salivating over this dude's AK, to be honest with you.
So I see a comment I want to comment on real quick. This Anarch Nova, I think he's a member, says, "What's with the constant music with the videos from this war?" I like to call this the seether phase of combat. Every country goes through.
We had our own.
But the Americans, we had our own in the global war on terror. It slowly died out. The Russians started theirs actually in Syria. There was a long period of time where all of the Russian combat footage coming out of Syria was just overlaid with this gnarly Euro metal. And I mean, the Ukrainians are just going to, it's just something, you got to remember the guys that are out here fighting. These aren't like 30 and 40-year-old dudes. They're not like me and Ronnie's age. These are like 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. They think this shit's cool. They think they're invincible.
There's lots of return fire. Audio is muted. Yeah, there is. And the reason I don't have that playing right now is because of the music on the back end. We received a couple comments after the live stream from Friday. You know, what's going on with the audio? I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. That's because we played some of the audio and it ended up shutting down the VOD. Viking, thanks for the 10. Sorry I'm a bit late, but when I went to Ukraine, it felt alien to see people going out for dinner, walking the streets, going to work, compared to what I'd see prior to going. Hard to comprehend. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, you're commenting on what we were discussing earlier, that kind of the intersection of those two worlds in a place like Kyiv or, you know, even further to the west. As you move further and further to the east, that the war world takes over. The further you move to the west, obviously, the normalcy becomes dominant.
And this poor machine gunner.
All right, coming up next, I've got a little bit of, you know, I always like to do a little bit of context footage. Not a lot going on except for in the background here. So something you could even probably do is close your eyes and listen to this one. This one we're going to play full audio. Might be a little loud if you're watching with headphones in. You've been warned. This is in Bakhmut.
Поселок Опытный! Бахмут! Поселок Опытный! Бахмут!
Bakhmut's still really, really heavily contested right now, but Ukraine does have a firm hold. Like I mentioned on Friday, Russia, although they have made advances around Bakhmut, the lines of communication where Ukraine is able to continue to sustain that force with additional manpower, but also from a logistics perspective, they'll continue to be able to hold Bakhmut as long as they maintain those lines of communication. Welcome to hell. Yep, exactly. That's what I was hoping you were going to take away from that one. So this next one comes out of the east as well. This is a Russian BMP-2 hitting an anti-tank mine, with a bunch of dismounts on top of it. And what's interesting about this, and it was actually one of the first comments over on the Funker 530 page, is you can see the route that everybody's taking. You know, the vehicles are kind of following along a certain path. Once that BMP-2 hits this anti-tank mine, Russians just scatter in all directions, which all I was really waiting to see towards the end of this was another mine going off. Here you go.
Заводись, блядь!
Ronnie, have you seen Sivdiv's combat and GoPro footage from his time in Ukraine and other conflicts? Absolutely. We post it pretty regularly on the page. And when we post it on the page, something to note, we're generally speaking fans of his content. It's really great stuff. Provides great insight. We are embedding the YouTube video, right? So what that means is if you do watch it on the Funker 530 webpage, it's still providing his YouTube channel those views. So when I was watching this for review earlier, I don't know why this stood out, but the last guy's stride, I don't like it. It was like a slow motion almost stride. It looks almost normal. Maybe I was only on my first cup of coffee, so I don't know what it was, but it's kind of caught me off guard. It's kind of just pouring out in all directions here. All right, coming back up. Excuse me. I want to turn a little bit of the music back on, check in on the support you guys continue to send over. Thanks for it very much. Sorry. TRM, thanks for the 5. Them stealing stuff is a strong indication of no leadership structure. Josh and I have both talked about that before. And actually, it was a topic of discussion, over the weekend for me. While I was at the Army cult stuff. Worst cult in the world, as far as I'm concerned. They don't even have punch bowls. But the general lack of a non-commissioned officer structure of the Army, for example. I can't really speak for the Marine Corps, but I know that they operate in a similar way from a mission command perspective. The Army treats the NCOs as its backbone and understands the NCOs to be its backbone. Wherein, effectively, commander's intent, commander's guidance, filters down to actionable requirements at every echelon, regardless of what commander. So you could have a company commander that's operating off of his battalion commander's guidance, and so on and so forth. And that filters all the way down to the team level. Mission command is essentially the U.S. Army's way of performing command and control. It's by doctrine. It consists of, all the warfighting functions, movement and maneuver, sustainment, essentially everything that you have to do to maintain C2. Russia has shown, and there's proof of this at this point, flag officers being killed. I want to say it's 8 total. It was previously believed to be 11, but I think a few of them have come back out and said, hey, I'm still alive. Flag officers were being killed very early on. We don't see a whole lot of reports of that happening anymore. I think they've kind of wised up to it. But the direction was being provided from very high up to very low down without really any decision-making in between. That decision-making in between at the tactical level, just by the way, the tactical level for the U.S. Army is all the way up to the corps level. So even at the corps level, you're still considered a tactical commander. Just for a little bit of context there. Russia was making decisions, having flag officers, generals, performing things like forward observation roles. It's indicative of a lack of NCO Corps, and if I'm not mistaken, Josh, you've done a blog or two about that as well.
More than a couple.
Yeah.
The Russians, their lack of NCOs are the cause of a lot of the Russian problems. You can see that in everything from the general discipline of their troops. Whenever you see Russian fighting positions, I'm trying to not swear, they do not look like they're in good order whatsoever, which is indicative of not having any.
Yeah, it looks all fucked up.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's a very technical term. Fucked up. Right. I don't have a whole lot of time to explain what that means.
They look a little bit like a football bat.
Yeah, it's fucky.
So, I mean, just from that level, like, NCOs are the guys you need out in the field making those decisions, because they're the guys that are going to recognize the drone threat and say, oh, hey, I need to keep my guys up for an extra hour so they can get some sandbags and chop down some trees and reinforce their fighting position so we don't die in the next 24 hours. Without NCOs, you get a squad-sized unit of Russian troops with no internal leadership sleeping all in the same fighting hole, getting a drone drop munition landing on top of their position. You end up with tanks being taken out by small Humvee teams because the entire tank crew is inside a building adjacent to the tank sleeping because no one is telling them to do the right thing. And just on top of that, there isn't anyone to make snap decisions on the ground. They all just kind of stand around and look at each other. We saw that a lot during, what was it? The siege of, how do you say it? Mariupol?
Mariupol.
Yeah. So you saw it a lot during that siege. You'd see a half dozen Russians standing on a corner not doing anything because they didn't know what to do next and no one was there to tell them.
Just kind of gaggling around, yeah.
But, I mean, there's been plenty of instances. It's a natural progression, I think, amongst people who soldier, who do warfighting, to just naturally step up and take charge of those situations.
Mm.
So you also do see instances of the Russians just doing that very naturally anyways, because nobody wants to die regardless of what country you're fighting for. So if you think back to that siege, there was the Russian with the red backpack that was running around.
Yep.
You'd see him all the time directing fires, making decisions. Dude looked like he was about 19 years old. You know, there's no way he was an officer.
Right. Just kind of took the initiative there.
Right, but that's so rare with the Russian forces because nobody wants to take accountability or responsibility, and it's because there's no NCO corps whatsoever in the Russian military. It's a little ridiculous.
And I think to say that there aren't NCOs would be false. I think the structure that Russia has in place is, from a doctrine level, less reliant on leadership at the subordinate level, right? Their reliance is on, the Russian hero officer. But what you end up with is, what Josh is describing, this general disorganization at the most tactical level, at the team, platoon, company levels, that ultimately lends up to the level of disorganization, to even, I'm sure it's happened over and over again, even, forgetting extra fuel because, again, there wasn't an NCO doing, PCCs, PCIs, pre-combat checks and pre-combat inspections, before movement. Those are the kinds of things, knowing what to execute on based on commander's intent and commander's guidance is what the NCO Corps does, and it doesn't seem as though a whole lot of that happens for Russia. Right,
and so let me rephrase it on the NCO front. There's a lot of first sergeants. There's no master sergeants. Does that make sense?
Yep.
There's no combat non-commissioned officers.
Yeah.
There's administrative non-commissioned officers. There's a platoon sergeant who makes sure the weapons are where they're supposed to be. Those are the ones that are selling them and having them end up in Syria, by the way. But I digress.
Torek, thanks for the $5. Ronnie, Josh, isn't the Chinese People's Liberation Army, modeled exactly off the Russian Red Army model? Being able to say exactly, I can't be certain. I've always, from a 50,000 foot level, not even the 20,000 foot level, understand from a kind of a doctrine approach to strategy. I've always understood them to be similar. But really knowing how they're structured down, that's not something that I would pretend to have a whole lot of knowledge on. You got anything on that, Josh?
Right. So the Russians operate off of a doctrine style called the deep battle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. The thing with the Chinese is they're kind of out there. We don't really know what they do because no one's really had to fight the Chinese since Korea.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before. Somebody, we kind of continuously get the question, hey, based on what we know now about Russia, is there a possibility that China is also, you've got the paper bear, or is China a paper tiger? And I don't think anybody really has that answer. We know what their supposed capabilities are based on what they release and what, of course, placement and access provides us. But seeing that from a combined arms perspective, seeing those functions, those warfighting functions come together, once again, movement, maneuver, sustainment, etc. Adding all of those things, intelligence and how intelligence feeds in. Intelligence is a warfighting function. It is separate for a reason. So movement, maneuver, sustainment, intelligence, etc. Seeing them put all of those things together, or their version of it, nobody knows. When's the last time they fought a modern conflict? Nobody really knew for Russia. Everybody thought they knew. And I think from a leadership, from a strategy perspective, we're going to see a lot of second guessing, maybe not even in the right direction when it comes to decision making on China. Right? I wonder if there's going to be an instance where, based on what we're seeing from Russia, somebody sitting around the good idea fairy table says something akin to, well, we thought Russia was great too. We can put China on the back burner. And that's probably not something that would be smart.
The other thing to keep in mind is I don't think China is far, far, far more patient.
Mm-hmm.
As a nation, as a people, as a society, they're far more patient. Whereas Russia is being driven by their government's, far shorter half-life, I guess you could say, as their government might not be around 10, 20, 30 years from now, just based off the general health of some of those guys who are getting up into their 70s and 80s now. And Ukraine is their attempt at, reaching this romantic state of bringing the USSR back and putting NATO on the back foot. Whereas for China, they're more about playing the economic long game. What are you laughing about, Ronnie? I see you.
Somebody's super chat. Fat Cobra, thanks for the 10. Did the M1 Garand turn Japan from a warring nation into a nation of anime? I'm not sure. But what really matters is the friends we made along the way. So thanks very much for the $10, Fat Cobra. Go Army, beat Navy. I'd like to reiterate that for Josh. Go Army, beat Navy. Stefan, thanks for the 736. Cheers and thanks for the entertainment. Rumors are dwarves can be fast. I have a reliable source. Natural sprinters, we are. Yes. I'm not as short as you think. I'm like 5'9" and 3/4. Even Josh said that when I met him. He's like, you're taller than I expected you to be. And I was like, I don't even know how to respond to that. I was thinking to myself, you're a tall glass of water. But now, I'm not really even sure how to go about the rest of my visit. Because
Ronnie's at least a solid 5'10", but I will admit that he was standing on a hill when I met him.
All right, moving on. Let's play Funker Fake or Not.
Я хочу вам сказать, не только артиллерийские дуэли. Судя по всему, туда, куда мы идем, там еще есть стрелкотня такая нормальная, блин.
Hey, I'm just glad to see this guy still alive, honestly. I don't agree with some of his reporting tactics, but I was
Не
not.
остановит, это факт. Ну, тревожненько, тревожненько.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with Josh, you want to tell him kind of what happened with him?
So Gonzo is technically one of our peers in the conflict reporting space. He operates entirely out of Russia. He's an independent journalist, but he's also Russian, so he's controlled by Russian state media and the things he releases. Throughout the duration of this conflict, we've called him out at least 3 or 4 times on him faking footage. Like the T-90 shooting into an empty field, which he released as legit combat action, Russian forces in the DPR destroying Ukrainians. But on top of that, he was called out on an international stage for being a hack reporter and just putting out consistent lies.
And he was rolled up, wasn't he?
Yeah, he got arrested for harassing hotel staff in Russia while he was drunk.
Yep.
And then that was in September. And then I want to say he was in, I forget the exact region, but towards the end of October, he was embedded on a security patrol with Russian forces, and he hit an AP mine. This is the guy, though, so
yep.
I am glad to see him hopping his stupid ass around not being dead.
So when I say fake or not, what I'm kind of getting at is the general sense of urgency, the overlaid audio. I don't have a translation of what he's saying, but based on what's happening, I would assume he's saying something akin to, hey, heavy fighting going on here. I'm trying to get my, gimpy ass away from here. And then that sense of urgency kind of just dissipates here. And so does the overlaid gunfight.
Must be embedded with the TikTok.
All right, let's bring it back up though. Machine gun fire, but nobody's ducked. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah. Yeah.
No one's got to worry about grazing fire, Ron. It's not that big of a deal.
So what Josh is saying is that guy is a typical Russian, telling tall tales, more or less. More or less. All right, I've got one more. Gotta always present both perspectives. You know, this one is exactly what it is. Now, this is one of yours, Josh. And this is supposedly Donetsk People's Republic tank action coming out of Prvomaisk. Now, the confusion on my side is where exactly Prvomaisk is. And I know that this was how it was originally recorded. How now, brown cow? I'm not sure what to do with my hands. This was originally reported as being from Prvomaisk, but I want to show you guys something. Where exactly that is. And I don't think I'm pronouncing it appropriately. I don't care. Prvomaisk is in Luhansk Oblast, well behind where one would theoretically believe Ukrainians to be, unless this footage is old. Something that's notable was early on, or I would actually say late in the summer, Popasno was a major conflict point. There was a lot of activity here, specifically a lot of Wagner footage. But this is Prvomaisk. So unless this footage we're about to watch comes from early on, which it very well might, look at how much greenery is on the ground. There's quite a bit of mud still. And also you can of course tell it's RT. You know, who would,
just in case we didn't know.
Just in case we didn't know that it was RT's footage, they slapped their big dong of a logo right on the front of it. So anyway, I wanted to provide you a little bit of context with that. You know, that little bit of research leads me to believe that this is some relatively old footage. It's about 3 minutes long. We're not going to watch all of it though.
I posted this for Ace, man. That's it. Sometimes
just for Ace. Ace is a funker treasure. I'm telling you. Just an absolute treasure. Protect Ace at all costs. Good thing they put the RT dead center. Yeah, we'd never know.
At least it's not as bad as those. Do you remember at the beginning of the conflict? I guess, yeah, as I say that, they put another watermark up. You remember when they had like one watermark would be coming down from the top, and then there'd be one in the center of the screen rotating from left to right.
You know, like the old DVD logo that just bounced around the screen. You know what I mean? That was what the watermarks were doing.
Like, and then everyone was doing it. It's like, guys, all you're doing is like, you don't own this because you put a watermark on it. That's not how this works.
I'm gonna go to my neighbor's, four-wheeler. He's got a really nice four-wheeler. He rides around all day, and just write my name across the top of it.
A watermark.
This is mine now. Wait, there's a video? No, I don't think so. We're just watching a logo. I wonder if Ace has a YouTube account. I can only hope so, man. Ace, if you're out there, chime in, bro.
I gave Ace a guest spot today. I told him he could. So we mentioned that there is some satellite imagery out there
for Engels, but it's not whole. Slava Z is really heavily known to show almost nothing but the same narratives and perspectives that Russian state media propagates. Right, something that you'll find here if Ukrainians are getting their ass kicked, we show footage of it. We showed footage of. Listen, it's war. There's two sides to the coin in war. There are explosions on video of Engels Air Force Base receiving those munitions of whatever kind they are. What exactly they hit and whether they hit anything can't be certain, because again, we really don't have a whole lot of information coming out of there. We do know, based on satellite imagery, that the other airbase did receive damage to at least 2 planes. When did RT get tanks?
Syria. You got them in Syria, along with Anna News. I was kind of hoping Anna News would strap some of their GoPros and some Russian tanks in this. But
Ronnie, all I hear you saying is RT, RT, RT. Yeah. Yeah. The watermark thing just drives me crazy, right? Ukraine does it too. They got the opening and closing with you remember the funker, Josh, the ending, can we find like one of those videos or something that has the old funker ending to it?
Just yes, open the Canadian dirt bike one.
Oh man, but I don't have easy access to that. How far back in our?
No, just type dirt bike in the search bar.
All right, hold on. Let's go to youtube.com/funker.
No, right on the Funker webpage. Just type dirt bike.
Dirt bike. All right, hold on. Canadian Special Forces chase Taliban on dirt bikes. We're not going to watch this.
But just go to the end. The end.
Yeah, we're going to go to the end. And this is
the end, more than half of the video.
The end starts a minute before the end of the video. Well, it's 30 seconds, but still. This is one of the Funker platform's earliest videos.
Should we tell them about the time? So once upon a time, Funker had the bright idea of slapping a Carmen Electra thumbnail on one of the pictures to see if people would click on it, and it worked.
It worked?
Funker is one of the OG YouTubers, man, from like 2008, 2009. Like he's one of the OG.
This is what the RT stuff reminds me of. This right here. Oh man. All right, guys, we're gonna be we got one more video to show you. I get the comment all the time, I can't support, anything about this war in Ukraine because we have issues like our southern border. And you're not wrong, right? I'm going to show you a video and I'm going to show you on a map where this is happening. What I would send back your way is why not both, right? These aren't exclusive things that you have to support one or the other. But there are absolutely problems taking place within spitting distance of our southern border. This video being one of them. Check this out. He needs more RT logo to be legit. Why did we start with the RT logo? Well, we didn't start it. They started it.
A scrolling supernova that comes across the game screen. Or the yellow lightning bolt of YMTX. You know the guys I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Nolan, thanks for the $5. Why would Slava Z lie about the attack? I'm not necessarily saying they would. They're just not typically a source that I go straight to be honest with you. I do have them pulled up on my Telegram. I do check it. Torek, thanks for the $2. So let me give you a little bit of context on this, all right, now that the video is over. That took place in Laredo. Let's pull it up here for you.
I think we should put that on the list of things within HIMARS reach of my house.
Nuevo Laredo, excuse me. And I just want to pull this up on a map, show you how close that's happening. Now, what you just saw was Sicarios of the Northeast Cartel, or CDN, opening fire on a Mexican Army armored truck in an attempt to free their leader, who'd just been arrested by Mexican authorities. Let's go to Google Maps. Google Earth, actually, rather.
Start Texas live maps here soon.
Oof. Once Google Earth loads. All right, check this out. I'll show you where Nuevo Laredo is. Gonna do that cool zoomy thing that it does. I love this. This is the Rio Grande. Here. This is Texas. That's where this occurred.
That is a 5 hour and 20-minute drive from me.
Texas, not Texas. Texas, not Texas. Texas, not Texas. Nuevo Laredo. Laredo, Texas is across the river. Laredo, Nuevo Laredo. Laredo, Nuevo Laredo. Laredo, Laredo, Nuevo Laredo.
Hey, pull out your HIMARS ranging stick real quick.
My HIMARS what?
Your HIMARS ranging stick that you use.
Oh, this thingy?
Yeah, okay. Scroll out and put the pin on Abilene, Texas for me.
Abilene, Texas. Where's Abilene, Texas?
It's west of Dallas-Fort Worth.
Okay. Let's start at San Antonio and go from there.
Okay, drive 3 hours north.
All right, we're at Waco.
Okay, you see Dallas and Fort Worth there?
Uh-huh.
Go left until you see Abilene.
There it is.
All right, HIMARS range that real quick.
HIMARS range it? This is just a measuring tool. All right. All right, we got to turn this into freedom units really quick. 343.36 miles.
So can I hit that with HIMARS from my backyard?
With ATACMS? No.
Okay, close. Close.
Yeah, close though. Yeah, you'd have to come down to, I don't know.
I'll go to retired EMTP's house and we'll do it from there.
There you go.
He's only an hour and a half away.
Yeah, so that's taking place, within spitting distance of the border. And I just wanted to make sure you guys saw it because we cover all kinds of stuff at Funker 530, and we have for 15 years. Josh has been a part of that for a long time, and I'm privileged to be a part of the team. We thank you tonight. Everybody say thank you to Josh for joining us. He'll be a little bit more regular now that we've got all this figured out. I got to be honest with you. We planned this for a really long time, and I mean about 5 minutes before we started the stream tonight. I just said, Josh, you want to join me, man? I could use somebody to talk to tonight. And he said, yeah, my mic sucks. And I said, yeah, don't worry. Everybody's just going to make fun of you over and over for it. So don't forget to make fun of Josh. But there'll be more. We'll see you guys back here Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Hopefully we'll have Josh with us. We'll see what his day looks like. I thank you very much for being here. Thank you for all the support that we've had over the night so far. Torek, thanks for the 2. Nolan, thank you for the $5. Mosin for the 10. Sorvik, thanks for the 5. Ronnie's only watermark is the one he still leaves in his bed every morning. I'm sorry I missed that, man. And Nolan, thanks for the 5 before that. Josh, thanks for being here, buddy.
Yep. Take it easy, guys.
I'm out of here. We'll catch you on the other stream if you guys want to join me. I'm going to kick back, have a beer. We'll chat. We'll have fun. We'll talk about all kinds of other stuff. But if I don't see you over on the other stream, it'll be automatic to redirect you over there. We'll see you back here Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Stay informed.